Hi everyone, this is Rob. I'm the managing editor and a programmer at Short of the Week, and I'm speaking to you today to introduce the latest video in our Short Films Explained series. If you've never seen one of these videos before, we started doing these interviews to introduce you, our YouTube audience, to some of the filmmakers behind the most popular or the most discussed shorts on our channel. What's popular on our YouTube channel changes from week to week, but one of our most recent hits has been Sean Meehan's epic short, Lost Face. Adapted from a Jack London story, this film really caught fire in August of this year when it went from 50,000 views to 1 million in a 2-week period. If you're yet to watch the film, there's a clip coming up next and a link to the short in the description below. And right after we've given you that short teaser, we'll jump straight into our interview with the film's writer, director and cinematographer.
I am a great man. It is foolishness for me to die.
It shall be done. Go into the forest and gather your medicine.
So these questions are all inspired by the comments section of our YouTube upload of Lost Face, and a lot of the commenters there are really happy that you decided to adapt this Jack London story. What made this a story you wanted to bring to the screen?
Short films are very difficult to kind of get right. I mean, they're not a feature film, so you don't have that huge palette to play with. They're not an episode of TV. They're definitely their own self-contained little thing, and they're difficult to get right. So I looked around a lot for a piece of material that had that self-contained story and that would be satisfying within itself. And this story absolutely has that. I mean, it's Jack London. It's, talk about standing on the shoulders of giants.
How faithful does the film stick to that original story, and how important was it for you to kind of maintain Jack London's voice when telling the film?
Well, in terms of how faithful is the story, I tried to be as faithful as I could. I mean, obviously there's a lot of backstory in the short story that I couldn't, and I just didn't have the screen time or the resources to tell the entire story. But authenticity was really, really important to me, and I wanted to do, I mean, again, it's Jack London. I didn't want to mess around with his story too much.
With that kind of respect for the source material in mind, and kind of knowing that this is quite a well-known story, did you feel pressure bringing it to the screen?
Not until afterwards. During, when I was adapting it and we were in pre-production and production, and it wasn't really until post-production that I thought, oh shit, this story means a lot to a lot of people, and I hope I haven't buggered it up. I mean, there was, when we were editing, without giving away what happens, there's a kind of twist at the end, and I had no idea whether that landed or not. And it wasn't until about 10 people had seen it and responded in the way that I hoped, that it's like, oh, it works, thank God.
And you've kind of mentioned kind of authenticity already. And there's quite a lot of comments talking about your production on YouTube. And one of our YouTube commenters says, as a Native American, thank you to the production for using our mother's tongue and using real Indigenous talent. How important was this authenticity for you when making Lost Face?
Firstly, that's fantastic to hear from a Native American commenter. It was critically important to me. I mean, the short story is set in Russian America, which is now Alaska. And it was a Navajo tribe. There's no film infrastructure up there, so we couldn't, not a significant enough amount. And Alberta shoots a lot of period stuff. They have a lot of resources there. As soon as I sort of started tapping into that local community, we got Gerald Auger on board and Morris Bird Yellowhead, and those guys are both Cree. And then once we started building it around the Cree language and Cree traditions, I kind of, that was a bit of a liberty I took with Jack London's source material, was to adapt it to a Cree. But yeah, the authenticity was critical to me. I mean, there was no point sort of attacking the material unless we got it right and we did it in a sensitive sort of way.
Did you have any particular challenges when it came to that?
It's just money, to be honest. We didn't have a lot of money. We got lucky. It feels a lot bigger than it is. The place we shot is actually a Girl Scout camp in summer, and the fort is just a facade. Like, everything is very surface level. Money was the real limitation there. But what made up for that was the enthusiasm of everybody. The local cast were incredible. And Martin, it worked out really well because Martin DeBrule, who we brought from the East Coast, was really the outsider. And then everybody else, that was a local filmmaking community, even the crew on the cast. So they were all very tight. And Martin really did feel like kind of the outsider there. And he played off that and they played off that.
Yeah, that's great. The limited budget certainly doesn't show on screen. It looks great, but I think the cast are certainly kind of crucial in the impact. How did you find them, and how did you work with them to get the best from them?
I had a casting agent that I'd been working with for years and years and years, Wendy Green, who's amazing. She's incredible, and she always looks beyond obvious cast. And once we figured out, I actually worked with her to narrow down where to shoot, and between us, we kind of landed on Alberta. And once she found Morris and she found Gerald, and then those guys brought Michelle Thrush in, and then Wilma Pelly, and suddenly we had all these Indigenous celebrities. When it came to set, we had 3 days. One of the days was the winter solstice, so we had about 7 hours a day of daylight. We lost an hour every day to literally warm everyone up because they were all in period costume. So we had one take for everything. So there wasn't a lot of time to discuss what was going to happen. We did a reading beforehand, and everybody kind of, figured out the level there, and then we just hooked into it. So it wasn't so much me micromanaging anybody, it was their passion coming through on screen.
So a lot of comments as well, kind of praising the production. One user even suggesting it's one of the rare times the cinematography exceeds the actual original story. That's really, I think that's high praise considering the source of material there. And I know you shot Lost Face yourself. How did you approach the photography, and what's your kind of aim with the camera work?
I mean, me shooting it honestly was out of necessity. Again, we just didn't have any money. I would like to have had someone else to handle that while I concentrated on the pictures, but it wasn't going to happen. I did have an operator on the first day, but we got a little behind, and my producer managed to pull in a second camera, which I operated. But in terms of the look, my kind of aim was just to get out of the way with the camera and let the story do the work, because it wasn't about me imposing a style onto anything. I knew I wanted it to look kind of epic, and I knew I wanted it to look almost old school David Lean type. A lot of people who make short films will know this. Is like you're just battling to get through it, and it's like you're fighting for survival and racing towards the end. And I knew that was going to be the case, so I prepped the hell out of it. I knew exactly where I was going to put the camera. I knew when we dollied where the track was going to go. That's
good inspiration for emerging filmmakers to know, you can produce something like this if you put in the work and you prepare like you did.
I think also if you're respectful and you ask, people are really passionate about filmmaking, and I didn't know any of those crew. I didn't know any of the cast. So I think that's a good lesson, is that people want to create things, and they will help.
The comments on YouTube are like, this is better than what's coming out of Hollywood these days. Why isn't this filmmaker getting the money to make a feature length film? So I guess, final question I want to kind of ask you today, is there more from the Lost Face universe? Do you want to expand on this story? Or are there other similar stories you want to tell?
I did. I've had that question a lot, actually. I did kind of explore where that story could go, but I think it's a self-contained thing. But I did end up writing a feature. I was really fascinated by the women in the beginning of the story and the role that they played in the structure of the tribe and in that particular event. I did write a film based on the women at the beginning of the story, and it was kind of almost like a domestic violence thriller type thing. And I almost got it up. I just couldn't quite find the funds that I needed to get it to happen. So, but yeah, I'm writing at the moment, and we have one out that we're trying to get funding for. So,
would you consider making more short films in the meantime?
Definitely, yes, I would. It's just a funding thing. So need to find the money and find the story. And I mean, I'm really hoping the one I'm writing now is a very low budget feature. I'm hoping that I can do that. I'm very enthusiastic about that one.
Well, there you go. Lost Face is building an ever increasing audience. So hopefully, along with all those kind of people who are watching it, maybe there's someone from industry who's seen it and will recognise your talent and give you some money to make something else. Because we certainly want to see it.
Yes, I would love for that to happen. It would be amazing.